action outside of 245 Logan with Councillor Fletcher and officially launched our campaign. By April of that year of 2019, tenants who refused the buyout were told they would be served N13 eviction notices with an eviction date of August 2019. Tenants who had been living in the building for years were paid around $950 per month. We're paying around $950 per month. Through organizing and fighting the renoviction of the landlord-tenant board, tenants were able to prolong the eviction process until 2020, but eventually they were forced out. Tenants lost their fight and units are now being rented for $1,600 to $1,800 per month, so nearly double of what people were paying at the time. In November 2019, after an increased number of reports in the media about Renovictions and increased pressure from ACORN members who were facing the problem, getting organized and fighting back, the City of Toronto created a subcommittee on the protection of affordable housing. The first meeting of the subcommittee had dozens of speakers and the message was clear. Existing powers needed to be enforced and new tools needed to be developed to crack down on the issue. In November of last year in 2020, tenants in Rexdale at Leduc and Torbolton were also facing renoviction when Family Properties bought their building, ironic name. Once tenants got organized, we had many actions and got press attention. In March of 2021, just a few months ago, tenants won a $10,000 grant from the Tenant Defense Fund to help cover legal costs in fighting the renoviction. This was the first grant the city approved for an eviction. Recently, we had over 15 members depute to the subcommittee on the protection of affordable housing and Renovictions and how urgently we need a renovation bylaw like New Westminster, BC. I was at that meeting and it was quite heartfelt, quite touching, and really brought to light how important this cause is. We must do everything we can to keep people housed and protect affordable housing. Renoviction, renovations do not just evict tenants, but they destroy communities, destroy housing, and gentrify working class neighborhoods. We have seen that the city is taking important steps to make this happen, and we're really happy to see this. Council is clearly listening, and we look forward to see what will happen once there is a report back we're expecting in December. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Dayna.
Darn Zoom, I'm constantly remembering to put my microphone on. So I'm going to go over the Hamilton campaign. ACORN Hamilton's Renoviction campaign started in the fall of 2018 when our now co-chair of the East End chapter, Elizabeth Ellis, called ACORN about her building's new owner and suspicions of their intent to push out all the tenants in the building. They were right. Within a year, all 8 apartments at 160 Sherman Avenue North were vacant. The landlord, Maliam, went door to door offering tenants cash to move out and messaging that if they didn't take the money, they would get everyone out one way or another. This private equity firm would go on to do the same at several other buildings in downtown Hamilton. They wanted everyone out so that they could renovate the apartments into luxurious apartments and double the rent. For example, at 540 King Street, rents in 2018 were $825 for 1 bedroom. And after displacement of 36 households, rent was raised to start at $13.95 a month. At those 2 buildings alone, that was a loss of 44 affordable rentals. In June of 2019, ACORN Canada held their national convention in Hamilton with 300 ACORN members from across Canada coming. The theme of the convention was homes over profit and protection of market affordable housing in our cities. That summer, we were able to push for a motion at City Hall to review the city's financial incentives to developers to ensure that no city money was leading to tenant displacement. Maliam was receiving city grants to renovate vacant buildings they purchased downtown, but buildings they bought with tenants. They put all their effort into pushing the tenants out. Last summer, we released our Defend Our Homes platform, calling on the city to implement bold local policy to protect tenants from renoviction based on the landlord licensing program passed in New Westminster, BC. We also called for proactive tenant education and expansion of the Tenant Defense Fund, so tenants could afford legal representation if their landlords filed at the Landlord and Tenant Board. In December, a motion was passed for the city to investigate what other jurisdictions were doing and recommendations for Hamilton. ACORN met with councillors and city staff before the report came back to the committee in April. We had 12 ACORN members delegate, and we were joined by Allies, YWCA, First Unitarian Church of Hamilton, Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, Hamilton Community Benefits Network, and written delegations from Environment Hamilton and the Hamilton Community Legal Clinic. A motion was passed to expand the Tenant Defense Fund to cover Renoviction and increase funding, and a motion for staff to report back on a framework to develop a comprehensive Renoviction strategy and for Hamilton that looks at licensing, proactive tenant education, and further improvements to the Tenant Defense Fund. Hamilton is in a housing crisis, and we need to protect the market affordable housing we do have. Tenants that currently have a home that is affordable cannot afford to lose it. With the wait list for social housing standing at 5,000 plus households, displaced tenants have nowhere to go. Our campaign is getting the attention of Hamilton landlords. Last night, the Hamilton and District Apartment Association hosted a town hall at the town hall with its members to discuss their fight against landlord licensing and renoviction policy. They are worried about being required to keep their properties in good repair and pest free, and not being able to renovate families to increase their profit. We need to protect our communities over the profit of predatory landlords and developers. We know Toronto and Hamilton have the power to do something. Hamilton has taken important first steps to address this crisis, but we urgently need action now. We look forward to continuing to work with council, city staff, and allies to ensure Hamilton passes local legislation to protect tenants against renovation. So now I